Your brain doesn't actually care if a habit helps you or harms you. It really only loves habits and it loves a feedback loop. Hi, my name is Sam. I'm the host of the show, The Forward Theory. You can find more of the show's content at The Forward Theory on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. You can also find out more information about the digital products that I have available for you to download currently for free to help you move your life forward one small step every single day. If you haven't done so already, I also would appreciate leaving a 5-star review. Most podcast players offer the opportunity for you to leave a review or a rating count or both. And that really helps me to feel encouraged to keep going. And it helps other potential listeners to feel encouraged to press play and move their own lives forward. Today's episode is really centered around this realization that I had that we are a collection of habits, and it's irrelevant whether or not those habits actually help us or hurt us. Our brain actually doesn't necessarily care what it's doing in that regard. It just really loves a loop. It loves predictability. There's comfort in predictability. Our brains like to get a sense of control around their environment. And so we can hack into that system, to use an overused term here, and have it serve us instead of be a disservice to us. So this last week, I was inspired to write my latest Substack post and then record this episode on a moment that happens to me all the time. And it revolves around taking the trash out. It does not take long for me to take the trash out. It's probably 90 seconds start to finish. It's not some enormous ordeal. And even if it was a larger ordeal than that, it would be no more than 5 minutes at the very most. But it's about 90 seconds of work. And for some reason, more often than not, this feels like a monumental task for me to undertake. I will open the trash, I'll notice that it's full, and I will still tell myself I'll just do it later. And of course, there's a later that does arrive when I can't even throw out the trash that I have in my hand because the trash can is so full that there's no place for it. And now I'm forced to take the trash out, and I'm forced to do so in an even worse position because the trash is full. I have nowhere to put this thing that's in my hand, and I have to spend the same 90 seconds now, if not a little bit longer, because I've made it more complicated for myself. And I'm so annoyed with myself in these moments for multiple reasons. One, because what am I, why did I make this harder for myself? Two, had I just done this earlier, I wouldn't be in this situation. So I'm annoyed that I left this work for me to do at a later date when it's harder to do. And I'm also annoyed that I keep finding myself in the same position over and over and over again. Like, why haven't I learned to treat myself a little bit better when it comes to this? But there's comfort in that loop. Our brains just want to understand the world around us as much as they can. And I have created a loop where I'm the type of person that waits until the very last minute to take the trash out. There's more comfort in knowing that that's my pattern than there is in trying to start a new pattern, because trying to start a new pattern takes work. My brain will have to build new highways inside that say, hey, when the trash is basically full or very near full, take it out right now, put in a new one, and you're done. Even though that is objectively easier and better for me, that requires building new neural pathways. That requires spending a lot of expensive energy in our brains. And that requires for me to overcome the momentum that I've built in this kind of negative pathway to build a new pathway that is a little bit more positive and more self-serving. That truly is a difficult thing. And we often wonder, why do we stay in negative feedback loops that we know to not serve us? And it's because of this. It's because our brains just don't want to spend the energy to do something different. Even though we know that that different thing is going to be better for us long term, it will require a tremendous amount of energy investment now to overcome the old pattern and the old loop that we've developed. That is a very powerful realization, but it's not one that has to stop us forever. There are ways for us to start to build new patterns, and for those new patterns to be very rewarding that we want to do them again and again and again. And for me, it takes just a little commitment. And that little commitment is when I next notice that the trash is basically full, I'm going to force myself to take it out. I'm not going to like doing it. I'm going to feel annoyed that I have to do it right then and there, but I'm literally going to force myself to take it out. I can ask my wife to hold me accountable. I can put post-it notes. There are a lot of different tools and hacks to try to get yourself over it. You could even reward yourself with something right at the end of it. You know, we train our pets with treats, and we are no different. We could very easily be trained with the same kind of mechanism. So you might be, you know, a chocolate fiend like me, and you could literally tell yourself, if you take the trash out right now, you can eat a piece of chocolate at the end. Like, all of that's on the table, whatever works best for you and whatever motivates you. But the point is that I was going to force myself to take the trash out the second that I noticed I needed to. And I did that. And I got a little dopamine hit doing that because now I created this new version of me that says I do things when I need to do them. And I set my future self up for success. And I am someone that can be counted on because now there's kind of this meta habit that had been created, which is that I made a commitment to myself and then I followed through on that commitment. All of those things are actually deeply, deeply rewarding. They feel very good, especially if you are intrinsically motivated. If you are extrinsically motivated, the piece of chocolate may be the thing that really rewards you, right? You've done the work. Now you get to eat a piece of chocolate and you're like, I want to do that again. So next time the trash is about to be full, you have that same conversation. Cool, I can take it out and I'm going to reward myself with a piece of chocolate at the end. You find a way to overcome that inertia of wanting to build the new pathways in your brain, and you realize that the new pathway that you're building can be very rewarding and can reinforce this idea that you make commitments and then you show up for those commitments for yourself. We very often treat other people with this level of respect. We very often make commitments to others and keep them. And unfortunately, we very often make commitments to ourselves and break them because we feel it's easier for us to rationalize the excuses, to give ourselves a pass. There's a lot of research that shows this. We are so much more willing to excuse our own behavior than we are to excuse other people's behavior in a negative sense. So, a very common example is if you're late somewhere and you are in traffic and you're driving and you need to cut someone off, you will cut them off and you will rationalize that behavior because you will tell yourself, I'm really late to this doctor's appointment or I'm really late to class. I need to do this. I'm so sorry, everyone around me, but I need to get into this lane of traffic. I'm going to cut someone off. The other person is thinking that you are a grade A jerk for doing this. And they think that you are so selfish and that you don't care about anyone and you're just doing this to make their day worse. And they will not excuse your behavior. They will actually despise you for your behavior. And probably they'll tell their friends about what a jerk you are and what this car did to them earlier in the day. And you understand the irony, right? Because at some point, I'm sure they also have cut people off and excused themselves. So we are very willing to excuse our own behavior, even if that's negative behavior, but very unwilling to do it for others. And that's also true in the same way. We're very willing to excuse our lack of positive behavior, but then reward others with positive behavior towards them, meaning we won't do nice things for us, but we'll very happily do nice things for others. So, learning to show up for yourself is something that you can train, and it's worth doing so because you want to treat yourself with the same love and respect that you treat other people. And that really, surprisingly, shockingly, can be a very difficult thing to do because of what I just told you. We have a very hard time treating ourselves with the same kind of respect and care. So, one little trick that you can do for yourself is imagine that it's not you taking the trash out. Imagine that it's a spouse, a loved one, a family member, a child, someone else a friend, you know, like imagine that every time the trash needed to come out, you needed to call your friend to come over and take the trash out. And what an inconvenience that would be for that individual. You probably wouldn't want them to do that, right? If you could save calling your friend to come all the way over to your house, take your trash out and put in a new liner, you probably would do that. Like, who would want to call their friend to do that? That's not a very friendly thing to do if you really didn't need it, right? Imagine that that's the situation. Someone else has to deal with this trash later. So do you want to leave it for them, or would you rather do them the favor and take it out for them so that they don't need to spend time in their day to come do this? Most of the time, again, if you're totally willing and capable to take the trash out yourself, you'll do it yourself and you'll save them that trip and that effort. That kind of psychological trick of turning your future self into someone else that you care about is a very powerful trick. You are training your brain to basically treat the future version of you as someone you love, as a friend, as a family member, as a spouse, as a child, as a pet, whoever that individual or being is. You remove yourself from the I of it all and you make it a them, and you make it someone that is external to you. And now your brain has a much easier time treating that external individual with the care and respect that they deserve, even though you know that what you're really doing is treating yourself with that love and respect. Distancing is a very powerful tool in psychology because, for whatever reason, and I think it's based in evolution, we do have an easier time being kind to others than ourselves. I believe it's because we are rewarded for that behavior because we're very communal beings. We grew up in tribes thousands and hundreds of thousands of years ago, and so we still have a lot of that wiring in us to want to care for people in our little tribe. So that is why that distancing really helps, because you're imagining that you're part of a little tribe and you want to be a good member of that because you are rewarded by being able to stay in that tribal setting. So you can program a new loop for yourself. You can program a new feedback loop, one that says, I take care of things when they need to be taken care of. I take the trash out when it needs to go out. I go through the mail whenever it comes in the door. You can start to build these very small little habits, and they are stacking on top of each other, building a version of you that says, I show up for me. I take care of my future self in the same way that I would take care of a loved one. I don't put things off. I do them as they need to be done. And I am someone that can be trusted. I can count on me to show up for me. I'm someone that sticks to his or her or their commitments. Super, super powerful stuff. Because when you start to do that with smaller habits, like things just around the house, you can start to do that with larger ones, like taking care of your health, like working on the business that you want to start, like sticking through a marathon training plan when the going gets tough, and it will get tough. All of these things that require larger, long term commitments are easier because you can do the smaller, shorter term commitments with without any issue. That is the power of building new loops. You are building a new feedback loop, a new system in your brain that becomes predictable in the same way that the old one was predictable. Your brain continues to just do its thing. It just continues to follow a feedback loop. It continues to follow a pattern. But now you've created a pattern that serves you and makes you happier and more joyful, because now the pattern is cool. Trash is full. I take it out. Toilet paper is low in the bathroom. I'm going to replace it. These are a lot of cleaning based habits. And then, as I mentioned, it gets to, I have a workout today. I'm going to go and do the workout. I have a run later. I'm going to do the run. I have a project that's due in 2 weeks. I'm going to start early. I committed to a weekly podcast. I'm going to record my episode. All of those things that are now more complex, more long term, more involved are that much easier because you've built a pattern of doing the smaller things for yourself. So, what is something small that you put off on a day to day basis, and make it really small, that you can make a promise to yourself that the next time that you try to put it off, you're not going to? Because you're going to imagine that if you put it off, your best friend or your spouse or your parent or whoever is going to have to take care of that for you instead. And you don't want to trouble them. So you are going to make a commitment that you are going to take care of it when you notice it and when you have the time, and be honest with yourself. When you notice it and you have the time to take care of it right then and there, you're just going to do it. And I want you to see how you feel after you've done that. Did it feel good to do that? Are you proud of yourself for doing that? You should be. Even if it's something so small and ridiculous, take the moment to be proud of yourself, because it's less about the one piece of mail that you put in recycling, or less about cleaning the dishes right when you're done with them. And it's more about building a version of you that shows up for you. And that is a life-changing habit. Until next week, keep moving forward as always, and check out my digital products at learn.theforwardtheory.com. I'll have a link in the show notes to help you build some momentum and get there even faster. Until next week, I am Sam, and thanks for listening.